All right, so I got three different clips I want to show everybody today, but the clips aren't really the message that I want to give today. It's really the responses in the first clip that I'm going to show everybody. But let me show the clips I'm going to show. The first one is out of Arizona, and they're kind of realizing that Canadian tourists, they're not visiting their state. The second one is from Taco Tuesday, saying he's going to punish us for the wildfire smoke. And the third one is the major fires that's going on in Washington State and even Oregon, which, for the record, their smoke is actually going into Canada. But something really bothered me about the Arizona report, and I want to show you some of the comments that I saw. Comments like these, where they say, Canadians never did nothing for me. Or this one that says, the only reason they came here is to escape winter. Wait till it's minus 40 and they'll be back. Kind of sounds like this idiot right here that I reported on last year.
Williams believes once the weather really starts to turn,
they'll make a statement for a while, and then they'll get in the middle of winter and then quietly get on a plane and go down the next day.
So this is actually what I want to talk about in this video. And I'm going to tie it together with the wildfire situation that's happening in Oregon and Washington State. And first, before I start, a big shout out to everyone that is subscribed to my Substack page. I know some of you have never used Substack before, and you signed up specifically just to follow my articles. But there's a lot of good creators and authors on Substack, and I encourage you to explore Substack and check out other authors that are on the platform as well. A couple of my favorites are I Fucking Love Australia, he's a great author, as well as the Bill Kelly podcast, he has a lot of great articles too. And a special thanks to everybody who has done the paid subscription option to help the channel out. And last but not least, a special thanks to everybody who has helped to contribute to my Buy Me a Coffee page. It is sincerely appreciated. When I thought it was the end of the road for my channel, the GTL community told me, nope, GTL, keep going. So I really appreciate everybody's support. Alright, let's get started with this first report out of Arizona that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Hey, Scott, Tess, good morning to you. Well, experts believe the drop in tourism across the country and right here in Arizona from Canada comes after President Donald Trump called Canada the 51st state. So let's look at some highlights from this new report dropped from the Canadian government here. These are some big numbers here. Canadian travel to the U.S. fell 25% in 2025. Return trips down 11 straight months. Canadians spent $2.3 billion less on trips to the U.S. in 2025.
Now, like I said, I don't really have an issue with this report. I mean, they actually mentioned the 51st state, so bravo to them. But it's the comments that really bothered me. But I'm happy they're actually showing this to their local citizens. Now, do their local citizens care? I'm going to talk about that later.
We spoke to Danny Seiden, the president and CEO of Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Seiden says not only has Canada been a top trade partner here, but their residents have also become top visitors in Arizona. Some of them now are neighbors. Seiden says Arizona is dealing with the tourism losses firsthand.
We welcome the Canadian snowbirds every year who come and stay, but this report shows what we had kind of been feeling, and that is that a lot of that travel is down. Canadians have selected to not travel to the U.S. as much.
Now, when it comes to the snowbirds, we know that a lot of them have already left the United States, like a good portion of them. I interviewed a snowbird that used to have property in Arizona, and now he's based in Spain. So there is a movement of Canadians avoiding the United States, but also picking up and leaving. So they should be feeling this.
Well, Seiden says despite the rhetoric from President Donald Trump and the Trump administration, he says that Arizona remains open arms to all Canadians who want to come here. He hopes to see a bounce back in some of this travel coming into the next year in the cooler months, guys.
Like seriously, honestly, like shut up with your open arm stuff. But what really bothered me were the comments in this video. And I'm not going to bother reading them out. I mean, they're not worth my time. But it also shows that citizens in Arizona, they never appreciated us. And it's not isolated to Arizona. You can look at any news report in the United States, in any state, and you're going to get comments like these. Even from Washington State, where a state that I used to visit a lot. There's comments in there saying, you know what, screw the Canadians, we don't need them. And using Washington State as an example, because that's the state that I used to go to a lot, why would I want to go there if this is what their citizens are saying? Why would anyone want to go to Arizona if their citizens are saying Canadians never did nothing for me? What's being exposed these days is how they actually feel about us. Sure, a lot of US citizens and those that support my channel, they understand. But there's still a big portion of United States citizens that really don't want us there. They want our money, but they don't want us there. I mean, I did reports last year from Florida, where a lot of the people in Florida were basically saying they hate the snowbirds, they drive bad, they don't tip, they don't do this, they don't do that. They take up all the parking spots and they take up all the reservations. Hell, if I was a Canadian snowbird going to Florida and I saw these comments, I would never want to step foot in that country again. I know some people are going to say either just bot comments or just ignore them. But this is the sentiment of many US citizens and what they think about our country. And I think this is something that we need to keep in view because the media and social media, they're going to continue to give us that, welcome us with open arms bullshit. But there's still a good portion of their citizens that don't want us there. I mean, why would I want to go to a party when half the people there don't want us there? Sure, half might legitimately want Canadians there, but the other half? Unfortunately, they're ruining it for your country. And speaking of ruining things, this guy here says that Canada's punishment for their smoke is coming.
Have you decided on a punishment yet for the wildfire? I have, yeah. So you'll find out about it.
Okay, it's hard to make out through all that cabin noise, but essentially he's asked, should there be punishment for Canada as a result of the wildfire smoke? And he says, you'll find out. And he had said not so long ago, Eric, should there be tariffs on Canada because of the wildfire smoke? And he said, oh, yes, I'm looking at that. They would be separate from these new tariffs that he recently introduced.
Yeah, tariffs on smoke. I mean, what has our relationship come to? I mean, when I'm in my senior years, I'm going to be remembering this. I'm going to remember and say, hey, remember that time when that idiot threatened to put tariffs on our country because our wildfire smoke was ruining their summer? And you know what's going to happen is that the US citizens that are apathetic and really don't care about what's going on, they're going to be like, oh, I didn't know about that, or he was just probably joking, or just put it in the past. Well, I don't know about you, but I could hold a grudge for a very long time. And I have 696 videos that I created that I can always look back at and remind myself.
Important to note, however, that right across the border in the U.S., as I'm sure you're aware, in Spokane, Washington, there are massive wildfire burning where 700 homes have been destroyed, far outpacing the fires we're seeing in British Columbia. What do you make of what he said there in terms of punishment for Canada?
You know, it's interesting, the contrast that you see from the president regarding Canada and Iran, oftentimes or sometimes projecting fealty when it comes to Tehran, but yet continuing to lash out at one of America's oldest neighbors, allies, and partners. And so I think what we're seeing here is a president who looks at a friend as a foe. And I think that is going to continue to play out throughout President Donald Trump's administration.
I mean, let's just face the facts here. I mean, Taco Tuesday is just talking out of his ass. I mean, when it comes to Iran, he's claiming that he's in talks and a deal's in place or a deal will be made. And Iran basically denies any talking is going on. It's such a strange universe, like when Iran is the reputable source for what is actually going on. But back to the threat to Canada about our wildfire smoke. I have to remind everybody about the fires that are going on in Oregon and Washington State. And you can see from this photo here. Where's the smoke going? Well, it's going to Saskatchewan as well as Manitoba. But are we being petty like the United States? No, we're just dealing with it. But I actually want to show a clip from Spokane, Washington on what they're dealing with when it comes to the wildfires.
KOMO's Jackie Kent joins me now in studio with new video and images of a woman, Jackie, who actually had to help her parents evacuate.
Yeah, just heartbreaking, Michelle, to see all of these images coming from Spokane. So far, more than 5,300 acres burned. Luckily, no reports of loss of life so far. One Spokane woman tells me she is grateful her parents and pets are safe, but it was difficult Saturday afternoon and night trying to evacuate.
Now, wildfires, whether in Canada, United States, or anywhere in the world, it's not a fun situation. And it's devastating to anybody who is affected. And to be honest, it should be a time when countries come together to help each other out. I know Australia and New Zealand have helped out Canada and vice versa. And to be fair, I've heard Wab Canoe say that American firefighters have helped in Manitoba as well. But unfortunately, this has become political. I'm going to ask a question after this segment's done.
It's a pretty gloomy drive right now. The amount of devastation is... There's no words for it.
This is the view that left Katie Sullivan speechless. A morning drive northwest of downtown Spokane revealed the Spokane Complex fire had ravaged countless homes in her parents' neighborhood. Their family home of 15 years was one of just a few still standing on the block.
You're one of the lucky ones. There was fire retardant dropped on top of the house and the cars.
Less than a day earlier, she helped her parents evacuate as the flames crept closer. And she says they were temporarily stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
There's a moment of fear that I think I've never felt before in my life, where the cloud of smoke comes and blocks the sun, and you can hear things exploding, catching fire.
What's happening in Spokane right now is also happening in Manitoba and other areas in Canada as well. People are losing their homes, they're being trapped, and in Manitoba's case, they had to flee by boat. Wildfires don't care what side of the border you're on. It's going to burn whatever's in its path.
There's nowhere to go. So we did get out, all the family, pets, with things that are, precious and important.
There are just so many Washingtonians who have literally lost everything.
Governor Bob Ferguson at a press conference said he talked with President Trump and he's working to get federal assistance approved for the state. This is roughly 900 crews and the National Guard are battling the fast-moving fires that have destroyed about 640 structures.
We know how important those resources are for individuals, for businesses, for communities. We desperately, for infrastructure, we desperately need those resources.
And there are ways to help the tens of thousands of people who have lost so much. The city of Spokane, the American Red Cross, and various nonprofits have set up donation funds.
So since Spokane is now in the middle of it and hundreds of people have lost their homes and they're asking for donations, should we send our letter now? Because your smoke is coming into Canada. Would now be a good time to send the letter? Obviously not. People are grieving right now. And we're not going to send a letter because we're not like the United States. But this is exactly what the United States has done to us. Right in the middle of things, like when this person says that her house was burning or her parents' house was burning and she had to flee and, it was a tough time, all that kind of stuff. This is when the United States sent us the letter. And this is when their Congress members decided to complain. And this is when their president decided that we need to be punished for it. It only seems like if the smoke is coming from Canada, that's when it's a problem. But when the smoke is coming from their own country, they're silent. How come we don't hear Montana or North Dakota or Minnesota or South Dakota complaining to the other states that, hey, you're ruining our summer? But when the smoke comes from Canada, yeah, Canada's bad. And that's when it becomes a big problem, apparently. I have to ask, what happened to the common courtesy to your next door neighbor? What happened to being helpful to situations where they might need help from other countries? And what happened to welcoming tourists to your country who are supporting your economy? Canada has helped the United States countless number of times. Whenever there's a storm, we would help by sending our hydro crews. Whenever there was a fire, our super scoopers were on the way. And during 9/11, we opened up our airports to your citizens. Lately, I've been asking myself, why are we doing this? And, we do it because we want to. And that's who we are as Canadians. We help. But in my opinion, there has to be a threshold. You can't continue to help a country where they're taking advantage of you and threatening to take you over. And their government is tariffing the crap out of you and their citizens treat you like shit. Like, how much more do we have to take of this? Honestly. Washington State and Oregon, they're going through a lot right now with their wildfires, and so are we. And I actually read somewhere that they requested that Canada send its super scoopers to help. But call me jaded, maybe I have something against the United States right now, but why should we send our super scoopers to help when we have our own fires to deal with? But not only that, why should we send when your country's treating us like shit? I know Washington State and Oregon, they weren't part of that group of senators or Congress people that sent that letter. But you are still part of the United States. You still have the same president, and you still have the same federal government, and you still pledge the allegiance. And it kind of pains me to say that because I've been close to Washington State in the past. But unfortunately, in my opinion, and this is just me, you guys are going to have to deal with your fires on your own. We got our own problems up north. And to be honest, I don't deal well with your fellow citizens treating us like shit, and same with your government as well. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me on this or if you disagree. Closing out this video, I would like to thank Min Hee from our Discord server for sending this photo from Lac Kanogami in Quebec. I hope I pronounced that right. But I really do appreciate you sharing your area of Canada with the rest of us. Alright everyone, I think that's it for this video. I hope everyone got some value out of this, and if you did and you want to support my channel, then check out my Substack page as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.